Hey climbers, and welcome back to the Treehouse. My name's Ree, and this is the tarot tree. In today's video, I just thought we'd do a little roundup of October, November. I'd love to be more consistent with these. I don't even think I've done a fave since last December, to be honest. And maybe it will be a good exercise in order to get me more consistent, because I have to face it, it's not my strong suit. But I just thought I'd share a few things with you guys, like what I've been up to, a few things I've got, a few new decks, a few pairings I've been using this last 2 months, and just have a catch up really. So firstly, I just want to say thank you for all your kind comments on my last video. I kind of mentioned some sound issues. I'm still experimenting now, so I've taken on your feedback. Honestly, you're really kind, but honestly the person that brought the comment up in the first place, the sound up in the first place, really wasn't unkind in the way they did so like I said, I appreciate feedback, but yeah, I hope we can get the sound down. It's a work in progress, but we'll get there. If anyone else has tips for how you record your sound on the old tarot tube, let me know. But yeah, let's dive right in. October and November, right? So basically, I've become quite a hermit, I would say. I kind of tend to around this time of year, in all honesty. The autumn, winter, that hibernation season. I very much am in touch with the earth like that. I must have been a hibernating animal in a past life, because as soon as it starts getting dark and cold, I don't much want to go out the house. And I'd realised I hadn't been leaving the house very often, which it's not necessarily a bad thing, but for me, I thought, oh, you know what, let's at least try and do some fun things and nice things and stay connected that way. So I did end up going to the South Bank, which, if anyone's been to London or has lived here or hasn't, look it up. I'll try and insert some pictures, which is one of my most favourite places in my city. And they had all food stall pop-ups and things like that. That was really cool. And trying out some really nice Cajun food, honestly. Oh, it was beautiful. Having a stroll down the river, seeing what's on. There's all art centres and kind of all sorts always going on there, buskers and performers, and it's just a lot of fun, and it really connects you with London. And they also had their sort of Christmas markets come towards November, tail end of November when I've gone. We also spent some time in Camden, if anyone is familiar with that. Definitely hadn't been there in a long while, and it's just so much fun just combing through those marketplaces and the stables, as we call it. It's kind of sad because I feel like it's dying a little bit. I feel like people are trying to keep that market alive, but big companies trying to move in and sort of push all the sort of artisan and sort of small sellers out. So it's nice to go and support. I couldn't find my favourite crystal shop, so I was a little bit sad. I call him Uncle. He's been there since I was a child, and I couldn't find him, so I was a little bit sad about that. But hopefully I'm going to try and find him next time. Maybe he's moved spot, or maybe I just completely forgot where he was because I hadn't been there in so long. So that was really nice. Kind of doing that in October and November, getting a bit out to these nice places. Also, if you want to visit London, there's a place called Japan House, if you're kind of interested in Japanese culture. It's just a nice place to sit. They have a cafe there, a library, and then they always have exhibitions down on their kind of lower floor, going on, usually free, and talks. There was a talk about trees that was really cool, about our relationship to trees. So yeah, if you're ever in London or you live in London and don't know about it, check it out. I'll try and leave some links here. So that was through the outings and stuff I went on, which it was good. It was good to get back out there and enjoy my city. There's so much here. It'd be a bit of a travesty not to be honest. And I really needed to get out a bit. Too much in that hermit phase, On a more personal kind of level, I have been embarking on sort of a new health regime to sort of help if I have an ongoing chronic condition. So I've just been doing a lot of research myself, working with my doctors, and trying to work out a program, which is switching up a lot of nutrition, supplements, potentially certain medications, fitness, trying to just see it like from a holistic point of view, and try and just get like things just more in place and try things out, which, you know, I feel happy like that I've kind of set out on embarking on this. You know, it takes a lot of work, a lot of energy. I think anyone who has a chronic condition will know the healing kind of journey isn't very linear often, and there's a lot of trial and error, and you know, it can be a bit scary and a bit daunting, but I feel happy that I've stepped into that. So that's been pretty cool on a personal level. And in terms of my tarot practice, I would say I've sort of been looking into some inner child work as within therapy as well, and shadow work, and been using decks in and around that. So when we get to the decks bit, you'll see a few of the decks I've brought into my collection, and those I've been using this last 2 months, hopefully. Other than that, in October, I also modded my first ever deck, so that was really cool. I really like that. Was biting the bullet for me, getting past my perfectionism, getting the old guillotine and corner round it out, and it came out really well. I'll show you it later. It was the John Bower Tarot. I turned it into an oracle. So yeah, so that was my October and November in terms of activities and things of that nature. What else should we go on to now? I'll definitely break this down to categories, because otherwise it's going to be all over the place. You might not have no interest in part of my storytelling that kind of goes on forever. But I digress. How about we go into some bits and bobs? Okay, so first up, where should I start? Let's start with this because it was a gift. My partner went away to India to visit family for the best part of October into November, and I had said, you know, look out for some tarot there, because I know India has some specific kind of practices and stuff that are very interesting, and especially in terms of linking tarot a lot to astrology. Unfortunately he wasn't able to get that, but that was fine. But he did visit the Taj Mahal, and I was like, oh my goodness, like this is a surprise, so I wasn't sure. Obviously I wasn't expecting anything, but I just thought they were so beautiful, I had to share them. And obviously we all know that it's made out of like beautiful like marble and stone and crystal inlays, the Taj Mahal itself. But he brought me back these really beautiful like crystal and pearl inlay coasters, and they're just so pretty, and they're all different colours, and get them out for Christmas, a little bit special. And I just thought, oh, they're so sweet. Like, I really like that, and I wasn't expecting it. It's nice to have this solid as well. I mean, it make a good weapon as well if anyone ever intruded in the home. But yeah, that was really nice. And he also got me I had asked for it actually. I grew up specifically around a lot of Indians and Bengalis in particular, and I always loved like my second mom, who's Punjabi, a little Punjabi woman, you know, who's been trying to teach me to cook for the best part of my life. If you know anything about it's kind of Asian households, they kind of keep the spices in this like metal kind of container with all the little like, oh, I should have bought it, it's in my kitchen now, all separate little kind of pots for each kind of spice. And like he brought me back one of those, and it's just so cool, so I just like it. Get the little spoon, and it's just everything's there. You just open up, you know, your container, and then you kind of get cracking on, you know, with your flavouring, and I like that. So that was really cool as well. It's kind of still in the frame of kind of like India. I bought this secondhand for myself, which is meant to be like an offering bowl. I'm not quite sure traditionally like what would be put in this. I'd have to ask. It seems like it's more from Hindu tradition, but it could potentially be from Sikh as well, maybe. But I just really love the pattern, and I just thought it was so beautiful. Just this, I really do love, like, especially their workmanship in metals and things like that, and kind of tapestry and clothing is so intricate and so beautiful, and the colour combinations, and I just thought that was beautiful. I haven't decided what to put in it yet, but I'm sure we'll get there. last but not least, in terms of bits and bobs, miscellaneous little things, I've discovered that I've found a new kind of thing that sparks my sort of the collector in me. I came across these things called the York Ghost Merchants, and they make these little ghosties. This is a really tiny baby one. It's called a Boo. And I've become obsessed. Like, I need them all. There's bigger sizes as well, and this is like a crackle one. They're so cute. They're literally like little ghosts, and they're from York. Anyone that's visited York, it's a very historical city in the UK. You know, it's like kind of, you know, we're part of Dracula. That's Whitby. Why have I got York attached to Dracula for some reason? I could be wrong with that. Do correct me if I'm wrong, but for some reason, anyway, York is very sort of synonymous with this history, and partly like ghost kind of history and stuff as well, like that sort of thing. And obviously it's very famous for its stone, York stone. I think this could be potentially what these little ghosties are made out of. But yeah, I've only been to York once, but it definitely has a very old agey feeling to it. It's a very interesting city. Visit it if you get the chance. It's very clean as well. Well, the part I was in, like, quite posh, but the architecture there, you know, all the stone kind of houses and buildings really are beautiful, but it really does have this feeling like you're going back in time, and I really like that. But back to these ghosties, I've kind of decided, like, you know, I don't want to go overboard and collect too many, but I have a sort of idea of what I want to do in terms of the ones that I will kind of try and invest in or buy. And I just like literally find these on eBay. Like, a lot of people are selling them secondhand. And as I'm kind of commencing in shadow work at the moment, I don't know, maybe I'll do a video on my separate altars. I like to make little altars for like different parts of my practice, I guess, and one of them is like going to be a shadow work kind of, well, it is a shadow work one, but I thought it'd be really interesting to incorporate these little ghosties, like pick out the ones that speak to me, like visually represent a shadow aspect I think I have of myself, or something I want to integrate. So I found that really interesting. Like, there's one that sort of has a mask on its face, which was really interesting, really colourful ones, like all these sort of playful, like I want to incorporate as like my inner child's shadow work, have them on my altars, like each of these little ghosties that speak to that. That's my idea. But yeah, I'm not sure what this one speaks to. I think I just really like this aesthetically. But yeah, guys, if you can find them, this is the York, what are they called, the York Ghost Merchants. Really pretty cool little things, and would be quite nice in an altar space. They reminded me a lot of the Boo Tarot, which I'm longing for, but they're unfortunately not posting to the UK yet. And Marine from The Ways of Your Soul, Marine, that woman, she's so great, right? She told me such an interesting way in which she uses the Boo Tarot, which was sort of like talking about, you know, connecting with those sort of ghosts of ourselves and that, and I thought it was so cool. I really hope she does videos on how she uses certain decks in specific, because when we've had chats, honestly, Marine, if you're listening, the way in which she uses these decks is so fascinating and intriguing to me, and it's just so helpful, like for our practices, you know, and zoning in on specific decks. The Reclaim Oracle, she has a very interesting way of using that as well. So yeah, guys, plug for Marine there, not that she needs it, but yeah, that's my bits and bobs. In terms of other miscellaneous, how about we go straight to movies and TV shows, because like I said, I've been in a hermit phase, and I do love a good cozy, you know, a cozy night in with a TV show or a movie. Although I've been out to see two, okay, so let's start with the movies. So obviously Black Panther, the new one came out, Wakanda Forever, when I was intrigued to see how they were going to kind of do that as obviously a Marvel Universe fan and a geek that I am. Obviously since his Chadwick's sad passing, and I was pleasantly surprised. I definitely enjoyed the sort of female leads, you know, and it wasn't really done in sort of cheesy or patronizing like girl power way, you know. It was very I shed a few tears, I have to say. It was quite emotional. You could definitely tell that the actors, I think they filmed it not long after he had passed, so that was obviously quite raw for them, that emotion. And the leads, you know, fantastic. It was really, really cool to see, and it was better than I expected it to be, I have to say. And definitely wait till the after credits. I know most of us wait, but please do, because there's quite a poignant scene that comes after that you probably wouldn't want to miss. So yeah, it was really nice to see certain cultures, like the kind of Mayan, like the Latino and like indigenous people of South America's cultures shown through a Namor, which was really interesting, and like also like that nod into like Atlantis and things like that, which will take me into a TV show that I've been loving recently too. But it was really nice to see that representation, I have to say. I'm sure it meant a lot to the people from those cultures and communities as well to see that in such a blockbuster. But overall, guys, it was good. I did like it. And secondly, which I loved, and I literally only saw this yesterday, but and it will be on Netflix soon, guys, so don't worry, you don't have to go to cinema to see this, although I just think it's great to see certain films in the actual cinema theatre, to be fair. But that was Pinocchio, Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, to be precise. It was very emotional. It was it's stop motion, one of my favourite directors and storytellers, you know, embarking on a film with my favourite type of animation. And it was so poignant the way he sort of, you know, set it in sort of Mussolini's Italia, you know, all the sort of themes of fatherhood, grief, you know, life, death, what gives it meaning. You know, Pinocchio asks some quite interesting questions in this film, you know, other characters do. It was quite deep, I have to say. A few kids were crying at the end of it, so I don't know how child friendly particularly it is if you have sensitive children. It says PG, but I'm not sure. It is a bit more on the sort of darkest aspects like Coraline and things like that, so bear that in mind if you have kids and you want to watch it with them. But I just thought it was just so beautifully done. I love stop motion animation. It's painstaking work. I've attempted it. It's really, you need to take your hat off for any film that gets completed in that manner, because it's crazy. Ewan McGregor as the Jiminy Cricket, or Sebastian J. Cricket as he's called in that, has some very funny moments and poignant moments. The whole, from start to finish, it was just a really great film, and I wouldn't be surprised if it picks up some awards. So if it, you know, those sort of darker fairy tales, Pinocchio is quite a dark fairy tale actually in this original form, and to be fair, the Disney one used to scare the crap out of me as well. It was quite emotive and a bit scary. Give it a go. It's made me want to like read that the original Pinocchio. Actually, I'm going to try and get a copy of that for myself. I do like to see these original fairy tales in their original form, should I say. So that's the movies I saw at cinema. Speaking of, you know, back to their sort of like ancient cultures and stuff, there's a guy called Graham Hancock that some of you may or may not be familiar with. He's got a new Netflix show called Ancient Apocalypse, which I've been loving, because I love anyone that kind of, you know, starts speculating on, you know, ancient cultures or lost cultures, you know, which I do believe in my own sort of, you know, how I've dived into it so far in life, which is through a lot of these documentaries, I should say. You know, that it would be so cool to have a culture that's lost. That there's so many, if you like legends and myths, and, you know, kind of diving into where they come from, you know, he really does like jump into it quite well, and he really does convince you, even though it seems mainstream archaeology really dislike him. And there's actually a part where they don't like let him visit a certain site because they say we don't agree with your views, which I thought was quite sad. Someone who came very close to studying archaeology at uni myself, it boggles the mind, because I think to be an archaeologist you have to have a sense of imagination and be willing to kind of tell sort of stories as well from these materials that you're digging up to try and create a bigger picture. So to have speculation is not a bad thing in that field, I don't think. Have a bit of imagination. And what he is, an investigative journalist by trade anyway, so it was just really fascinating to think that there might have been lost knowledge, and you know, those tales that across cultures are very similar, you know, that we had a huge flood, you know, this is scientifically true, there was a huge flood around a certain point, as he keeps saying. So if you're ever watching Ancient Apocalypse, it's hilarious because, you know, honestly, if I had a penny for every time that man said during the last ice age or after the last ice age, oh gosh, I'll be able to buy a lot more decks, let's just put it that way. So yeah, or if you was playing a drinking game whilst watching that, you would be out cold by the first episode. But it was very interesting. I like all of that. I like to look at ancient structures and, you know, run wild with, you know, imagination. It's what life's all about, you know, trying to connect these dots and fill in the gaps. Why not? So that was a lot of fun, and I really, you know, appreciated it, to be fair. Next up, Guillermo del Toro again, the Cabinet of Curiosities. That was more an October thing for like the Halloween period. That was really cool. Some of them were very, very poignant. Some of them was a bit, like the skin one, guys. Oh god, I was like struggling to get through it. I think I love her. She's a great actress, the girl in it who used to be in Scrubs. But it was a bit much for me, but some of them were really good. I think my favourites are probably, I don't know the titles, I have to just mention them, and if you know, you know. The rat one was very good. I liked the Witch's House one. I very much liked the kind of autopsy one as well. That was very profound with the alien. What else was my other favourite one? Oh, the very like artsy one with Eric Andre. I'm at Eric Andre. He's strange. He's a strange man. The dialogue and the sort of lighting in that was really good as well. The sort of futuristic one where this sort of billionaire invites all of the greatest minds and artists to show them something, and there's a bit of mystery of what it is. So yeah, the Cabinet of Curiosities. He is great. And the storage locker one. That was very good. The first one. But yeah, if you watched it, let me know what your favourite was, because I really did enjoy that. I think he's a fantastic storyteller. I thought the production on that was really, really good. And I liked how he gave a lot of people from different backgrounds, directors, you know, their flowers and their chance to shine with his series and his anthology there. That was really cool. So yeah, Guillermo del Toro. What else? I finished at long last the Ozarks, or Ozark as it were. I finished Ozark. Still not sure on that ending, I have to be honest. I'm not sure, even though in some ways it fits. I was a little bit pained by it, so if you're an Ozark fan, let me know. Okay, of course, we had the Game of Thrones. Surprisingly very good. It surprised me how good it actually was. I did like the House of the Dragons. It definitely grew into itself. I love a bit of Doctor Who. What's his name? Matt? I forgot his surname. You know who I'm talking about as Damon. He did that very well. And the younger actresses were very good. And everyone, the whole cast really surprised me. Paddy Considine. Obviously, since the disappointment of Game of Thrones, or the ending of it anyway, for a lot of us, it was nice to see them be quite mindful in how they were telling this story. And I really like that it deviates, because obviously the source material is all about like kind of from different people's accounts, so it's interesting. It gives them that scope in this to sort of really play around with it. So it was really cool to see, and I look forward to the new season, which we're gonna have to wait a long time for. But oh gosh, there's some beautiful music in that too. There was a theme. We'll have to post it. That there was one song in that really, like, I had to download it and get it on my Spotify because it was so moving. Was it Jaehaerys' theme? I'm not sure. I'll have to look it up. And then obviously, as a Lord of the Rings fan, I couldn't not watch Rings of Power, but I struggled with it, I have to be honest. Particularly the first episodes. I was a little disappointed, if I'm really honest. I was a huge fan of like Tolkien and the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit and things like that. It just, I knew I shouldn't expect that sort of Peter, like Jackson and Fran magic, because obviously they weren't doing it. But I just found, particularly at the beginning, like some of the characters a bit flat, particularly Galadriel's, Kate Blanchett. It's very hard. It is very hard, and obviously this is her in a different age and things of that nature, but it was a little bit Having said that, loved Elrond and Durin, is it? The dwarf. That was took me back to Lord of the Rings vibes. I really appreciated that, and I really liked seeing the lore of Mithril and things like that. And obviously the whole, like, I don't know, spoilers, but you know, what comes down the line with character reveals of who they are and things like that. It definitely improved towards the end, I have to say, but few of the characters are a bit one-dimensional for me, and I think they could take a leaf out of House of the Dragon's book in terms of developing those characters a bit more, because Tolkien really does give us some wonderful characters. It would be good to kind of do them a bit of justice. So that would be great. It was oh gosh, the cinematography though. There's like, in the first episode, there's a beautiful scene where Galadriel is a child, and there's a paper boat making its way, is it a paper boat? Anyway, something, or a leaf boat making its way down a river, and it's beautiful, honestly, so stunningly shot. You can tell where the money went, Amazon, but I hope they come through with something a bit more, just a bit more gritty, a bit more, I don't know, just something a bit more for the next season. That would be great. I'd be happy with that. So yeah, I think that's probably everything on that front. So let's move on to some books that I got in the months of October and November. I haven't finished any of these yet, but I've definitely, they came in and I've been looking through them. And the first up is Linda Perfect's The Storytellers Tarot. This was really cool. If anyone knows, I love storytelling. I love the storytelling element of tarot in itself. And I really like, as it says here, The Storytellers Tarot introduces the reader to the magical combination of tarot and story. Part 1 demonstrates how to combine the two arts in exciting and innovative ways to teach, heal and inspire creativity. In Part 2 contains 78 original magical stories and a unique table of correspondences linking tarot to myth, legends and contemporary fiction. So if you're a story lover, you're a tarot lover, you love the story within tarot, this might be for you. I just picked it up on Amazon, not for too much, and it's just really cool. I love the stories that are written. I've looked through a few of them when I've been pulling those cards. It's nice. It's just overall just a really cool book, if you're interested in story and healing through story and myths and legends back to that. And yeah, check it out if you can, and that's up your alley. You won't regret it, I don't think. Next up, we have a book that I first became aware of through a channel on here. I just cannot remember what channel. If I do, I will definitely link them below because it's so fascinating. This is Eastern Body / Western Mind. This is psychology and this chakra system as a path to self. And I just found this by Anodea Judith. Not got too far into this yet, but it is very interesting. If anyone knows what I've spoke about on this channel in terms of healing, I'm quite holistic in the way I view it, and I do believe to marry these sort of different practices, the Eastern philosophy, the Western philosophy, especially when we're looking at psychology and neuroscience from the Western perspective, and a lot of the Ayurvedic chakras and kind of Chinese medicine from the East. I think it's a perfect kind of combination when we are trying to do healing work. I'm someone that has a chronic condition, and I've had to look, kind of outside of the sort of paradigms of your sort of normal sort of probably Western sort of medical kind of ways in healing that, as I didn't get on very well with a lot of the medication I was trialing. So yeah, it's just fantastic as someone who's interested in the chakras and Reiki and things of that nature, as well as, psychology, neuroscience, to have a book that's speaking to all of this. It's just absolutely fascinating. It's a big chunky book. And, to have that combination of Jungian, particularly psychology, chakras, somatic therapy, childhood development, all of these are things that I had been looking into and kind of diving into separately myself, and to see a book that kind of was sort of, it's like, like everything's coming together. that's speaking to them all as one, like, was so fascinating to me. So this is definitely going to be a big part of my healing work in the the last month of this year and going into next year. I'm definitely going to take my time with studying this and see how it goes, and I'll give you an update. But yeah, Eastern Body, Western Mind, guys, you can definitely pick these up secondhand as well. Following on from that, I became very interested in a certain someone called Gabor Mate. I think that's how you say his name. I've been watching a lot of his videos on YouTube, and he really resonated with me, specifically in talking about the effects of childhood trauma, the effects of chronic stress, and the way that can affect our bodies, particularly physically, and creates illness and things like that. And that's something I definitely already been exploring for quite some time myself, and it just seemed that this man and his work and what he was saying popped up at a time when that was really resonating with me. So I've got 2 of his books. So I'm currently reading this one, which is When the Body Says No, The Cost of Hidden Stress, which I'm finding quite interesting. There's a lot of sort of anecdotes and kind of people's stories so far, which I don't mind. Like I quite like hearing, his perspective in terms of, like, he spent a lot of time as a psychologist and therapist in that sense, and actually working with people in hospices who were passing away and getting to know their stories, seeing how they ended up in the sort of state of health that they had. Like, he was really interested in seeing certain things. He's quite renowned for his work on addiction as well, and ADHD, which is something I'm also interested in as someone who's fairly sure that they are in that bracket. But yeah, it's just been really interesting and validating, I think. He doesn't place blame. It's nothing about that, oh, like, you've got yourself to this situation. It's like, no, understand that all of these things, they add up, and then we can end up in certain situations, but we can also help heal ourselves from that. And that is very encouraging. And the next one is a tome of a book, and this is his most recent, and it's called The Myth of Normal: Trauma, Illness and Healing in a Toxic Culture, which is again something that I've really been thinking about and looking at in terms of, I don't know if any of you have just think, I just need to go and just live up a mountain away from this society for a while. This is for anyone that really ascribes to that sort of way of thinking at times as well. Again, validating, like, kind of helping you see. I haven't properly started this one, but I've been following his kind of interviews around his sort of promotion of it at the moment, which have been interesting. But yeah, it surrounds, to get that, how society perpetuates illness in us, whether it be mental, whether it be emotional, whether it be manifesting physically, just in the sort of societies and cultures that we have at the moment. And he actually wrote this with his son, which I found quite poignant, who he'd had to do a lot of healing with his relationship. He's a very candid man. He's very honest and quite blunt, quite blasé. Someone told me blasé. I didn't think blasé personally. I thought he was quite blunt, and you can clearly tell he's passionate about what he's talking about. And he's old, like, he doesn't look as old as what he is, but he's been through a lot. He was part of a Jewish child during the Second World War, a Jewish infant. He speaks about that a lot, but very interesting. So yeah, if you don't want to get the books, invest in the books yet, obviously go to the library. That's something else I did in October, November that I forgot to put in. I finally went back to my library and got a card, half expecting them to say I owed them hundreds for, like, books I forgot to bring back as a teenager, but luckily I wasn't on the system anymore. But yeah, no, he's worthwhile, and on YouTube you can find his videos. So yeah, that's Mr. Gabor Mate himself. They're the books. Okay, so I think it's finally time to get to the decks. And in organising these decks, I realised just how overboard I had gone in the months of October and November. But towards the end of this video, I'll speak about some reflections of the month that will kind of that have come out of that quite a lot of spending on decks, as it were. So yes, where to begin, because there's so many. Oh my goodness gracious. Let's start with this, because this was actually really quite special. So I was it at the end of October? or the start of November, I'm not 100% sure. But I won a giveaway from Trio of Witches, the wonderful Sharon at Trio of Witches. Check out her channel, I shall link it in the description. And she was giving away this deck called Womanhood Revisited Tarot. This is a deck I'd never heard of, and I won. And like I said to her, you broke my curse of not winning anything since childhood by kind of sending this to me. And she sent such a beautiful note with it as well, and some like handmade bath salts with herbs from her own garden, which was so cool, and it smelled and it was amazing. So thanks again, Sharon. But it's just so cool. It's like a collage deck. I've yet to like get to work with it, because I really want to have like a little bit of time to sit with it. But it's just so cool, like all this like feminine energy, this collage art I've really been getting into recently, just very different. And like I said, I never heard of it before. Oh look who you got for the Chariot. And it's just, honestly, it's just really cool. It's a really cool deck, and like I said, I never would have like picked it up because I never would have seen it. And so yeah, and then to get this as a giveaway, like a gift, like that's just really, really nice way to kick off these sort of latter kind of months. Especially I struggle a little bit through these months. I said hibernating mode, but I also kind of get, you know, seasonal affective disorder quite a lot, and I think that's part and parcel. But yeah, it was just so cool. And I like how we have keywords for each of the minors as well. Poise, Pentacles, Two of Pentacles, Partnership, Three of Pentacles, some really cool words. So yeah, that's that one, guys. So I think it might have come from France, I think she was telling me originally. So yeah, guys, if you're interested, that's the Womanhood Revisited Tarot. I think you can still buy it. It seems to be an indie production, so yeah. That was really lovely. Where do we want to go next? Oh, I'm so excited about this, I have to. My fandom deck, for those of you who don't know, I am a big Avatar The Last Airbender fan, and I was struggling to find like a deck of it that I liked, or that was available actually. And through joining Facebook trading groups, thank you, the wonderful Sandy at Exploring Tarot, who kind of put me on. A lovely person posted that, you know, when I said I was looking for one, that this artist, Yapangi the Arts, was re-releasing the Avatar deck that they have made. And I was like, yes! And I ordered that, and it came really, really, like, quickly. And she's done, I don't know why I'm saying she, I'm not sure. So Yapangi, like, it came really, really quickly, you know. Produced this themselves, and it's really well made, guys. And it's obviously this is a fandom deck, you might not know what I'm talking about, but let me just tell you, if you know, you know, if you don't, let me just tell you, these characters, the picks that they've made is like spot on, really. And the scenes, we'll get to the minors, they're a little bit more pippish, but these are actually scenes and certain characters and stuff from the TV show, so it actually gives me the excuse to watch it again, so I can get a bit familiar with that. I would really appreciate if they made a booklet just talking about their choices, although their Instagram does speak on it. High Priestess, Empress, it's just if you haven't watched this shit, I don't care what age you are, honestly, give it a go. It's such a wonderful story. There's a lot of lore in this, a lot of character development. The lovers, look, hanging guitar. Oh, the Chariot. We need to get to my favourites. Tough as strength. Oh, Hermit. Oh my god, there he is. Wheel of Fortune, Boomy. These, it's just the pics are fantastic, but we got to get to my favourite card. Where is it? Because there he is. Uncle Iroh. This man is one of my favourite characters from any sort of world or imaginary kind of fiction, fictional characters that there possibly could be, because he's just, you have to watch it to know. Just type in Uncle Iroh clips. He's like a this guardian for a very sort of tumultuous, kind of lost kind of nephew of his that's very angry. He's been rejected by his father, and he's trying to kind of keep him in check and teach him and mentor him and nurture him, and he's very patient, and he's also a very powerful person in all of his own right, and he's just so smiley and happy in here, and he loves tea, right? And I love that for Temperance is him pouring tea. It's just great. What a great, it's probably my favorite Temperance card of all time, this. Oh, I love it. And yeah, like I said, I've been looking for an Atla deck for a long time, and I'm really happy that I've gone with this one. I'm really happy, and I love the scenes, I love the artwork, the production, as I said. Oh, look at them. Oh my god. If you know, you know. This is a very quite a poignant scene, quite a sad one actually. But to have it for the Four of Cups is very interesting. But yeah, Five of Cups, still thinking away. It's a wonderful deck. I'm over the moon that I have it, and I can't wait to have like a cozy like binge session of my Blu-ray edition of the series that I can watch along to kind of understand these scenes better again, get back in touch with them, get back in touch with this lore and these characters, because it's such a fun deck. Honestly amazing. I love it. Right, might as well just stay in the realm of all these childhood things. It's like I said, I was doing a lot of inner child work these last 2 months. I got a Disney deck. It's a handmade one from Etsy or eBay. I think they sell on both. And I just thought, you know what, I kind of want a Disney deck, you know, especially for like sort of child work. I liked the villains one and stuff. Some of the other ones I think are a bit pippish, are they? I don't know. Could be talking nonsense, but yeah, I couldn't not. It was really sweet. The seller was sort of watching things with their child. I think they were going to watch the. I asked them if they'd make a Studio Ghibli. They said they had to watch a few more of the videos. But yeah, that was really cool to see this, and I really liked a lot of the pics. So that's the Disney deck. I need to get a Disney bag for it because it's sort of just loose at the moment. What else? Let's have a look. I got a lot of second-hand picks, I have to say. Though I bought a lot of tarot and oracle, the vast majority of what I have bought is second-hand. It does tend to be that way for me, especially at the moment. As much as I like to support indie creators, it's becoming a bit difficult at the moment, particularly if they're overseas sellers, because, you know, with tax and then postage, it's like paying more than double the deck's actual price just to get it here, which is just not viable for me. So that's been a bit tricky. But I found some really cool picks like that, been on my list for a long time, secondhand, and just luck of the draw. So I found these, which is the Healing Flower colour cards. This deck can be quite expensive. I found it, I think, a charity shop listing on eBay, which was crazy. And it's like so interesting how this works. And I find the, you know, I like the sort of back flower remedies and things like that in general. It's like these cards that have, some of them have these affirmations, but I found, as you can see, there's like, but there's like 2 of the same, but they each have different kind of meanings, as it were. I need to really work out how to use this particularly myself. Like, you can either, you see on the back, they each have like cards, so I tend to kind of do it like that, and pick based on what am I drawn to, or like what chakra do I want to work with. I do use this as a chakra kind of work deck as well, and that's been quite interesting just to have. This is more for my body work and healing work, so I use this deck for. Maybe I'll make a video on that specifically, like what decks I use for that, for my chronic illness kind of journey. There are certain decks I particularly use for that. This has become one of them. And I just found it very poignant. I think it's beautiful because it's just these very simple plant drawings, etc. But and obviously that kind of goes up, as you know, I have a few plant decks if you've been here before. This goes quite well with my healing plant deck as well, my other one. I've got a few tarots that speak to that energy as well. And yeah, it's just been quite validating, quite poignant, like about bringing my attention to things and emotions linked to, you know, maybe what's going on for me at the moment, how that can be affecting me physically. That's sort of how I've been using it, and chakra work in terms of working on those, particularly the lower chakras is what I tend to work on, which is, you know, for me just makes more sense to kind of be getting those balanced out. So that would be the root. I particularly have to pay attention to the solar plexus because that's where my chronic physical condition manifests. The sacral, particularly those three, and then up into the heart recently because I've been having a lot of physical heart kind of palpitations and issues like that recently, but it's getting better. But yeah, that deck proved quite handy through that. Actually, it was quite poignant. Another one that I'd had my eye on for a long time but couldn't really justify the price to buy it from the creator. Unfortunately, I would have loved to have supported them. Is the Oceanium Arcane, the Ocean Tarot. What can I say? Like I am a Cancer rising. Pisces, Mars as well. I've got a bit of water I have a fair amount of water actually in my chart, and I realise I have no decks that speak to water energy, none whatsoever really. And this was the one that sort of caught my eye quite a while ago. So yeah, I'm glad I have an ocean energy deck. I just love the artwork, the backs. I just love the production of these decks. They've got a few others. This artist, they have a cat one, a feline one. They've just a mythology one. They have the ocean one. They have a dog one. But yeah, obviously this is the ocean one. It's dark. It's very into that subconscious, you know, when I'm doing this sort of shadow works, particularly with the water signs in me. This is what I wanted it for. It has got that sort of dark, sort of, you know, subconscious, underwater, obviously, vibe to it. And yeah, it's been really interesting just having a look through it and trying to get familiar with the cards and that. So I've enjoyed it for sure. Definitely be going into using it a bit more when I step into some shadow work pertaining particularly to those aspects of my chart, the water aspects. For October. This is really pretty. This was secondhand as well. I'd seen this about. I don't have a vampire deck, and I wanted one. And this, not too many of them spoke to me. I think the Bohemian Gothic from Baba Studios, is that where it's from? It's pretty cool. But obviously it's not in print at the moment. So I got this. It's called the Bloody Tears Tarot. I found the artwork in this very unique in terms of the color palette. Like obviously it's like colored pencils, but it's with these like blues and reds, which is really, I don't know, you just don't see this color combination often. Well, I haven't anyway. And I think a vampire deck is very good to have as a shadow work deck potentially. I think it's a very good deck to have when confronting certain shadows or things to do with relationship, sex, things of that nature. For me, that's just what vampires kind of speak to me. And yeah, this deck just seemed quite visceral, quite emotive, with all of these sort of sketchy scribbling kind of artwork. Quite powerful it seemed. And then it came up secondhand. I thought, I'll take a chance, I'll bid on it, and I won. And then, you know, I've had a really interesting time like looking through it, and I think it's going to come in handy through some shadow work that I'm embarking on in this sort of darker months. So oh my gosh, what's happened here? Oh no, that's just an extra card. Yeah, so if you're looking for kind of a vampire kind of deck, it is an indie production. I'm fairly sure it's on Etsy. It was a Kickstarter, I think, as well. This might be up your alley. So it is a very beautiful deck. It's quite RWS, very RWS to be fair. Definitely has this. Oh, look at that! Lover's card. Woo! Yeah, do you see what I mean? It's very visceral, this deck. I appreciate it, I really do. So that was sort of an October vampire kind of purchase, which I do not regret. Like I said, I don't have any decks that speak to that energy, and I thought it would be quite a good one for certain aspects of shadow work, to be honest. Not exclusively, I guess it could just be used kind of for any read really, but I think for that it could shine. Next up, a deck combo that I got both of these secondhand, and I'd wanted them for a while and they'd sort of gone out of stock, and that is the Crystal Forests and the Wisdom of the Forest, and they've both been getting a lot of use through these months in my practice as well, which I'll speak on. So yeah, let's just crack them out, why don't we? I've got the kind of bigger books for each of these as well, so that's been cool, but the little book to this is really good as it is. So these are by Jessica Purser, a really cool artist. I think she just finished a Kickstarter campaign of the reprint of this one, the Crystal Forest. But as you know, I like forest tree energy, I like crystal energy. This was a bit of a no-brainer, right? To have this oracles, they're so beautiful as well. They're kind of, it's there to help me with my crystal knowledge as well, which is something I want to get better at. So kind of creating my own sort of book alongside this is what I will be doing in the future. As you can see, they all speak to different crystal forests, and there are a write-up, but she lets you use your intuition, like the colour. It's like I like that it's like a colour oracle as well, and you can again attribute this to the chakras. So this has been really cool in that way, and I just pull it for like weekly energy. Sometimes what's my forest for the day. This one a bit different. The Wisdom of the Forest is a lot more of a sharpshooter for me. This is more like sit in the energy of the forest, like even use it as a meditative kind of oracle, I want to say. This one is quite to the point, like when it's telling me, okay, this is what you're dealing with right now. It's very direct, and it wasn't what I was expecting from it, but I've really appreciated it. It's been very cool to use with tarot, this one in particular, and I'll show you the deck that I use it with in a moment, what I have been using it with. And I've been enjoying it, you know. It's been very good to have to hand when I'm going through like a little bit of crisis, you know, or like I need some direct advice and help right now. This has been really calling to me. See, I thought this one would be the one that would be the one that would resonate with me the most at first, but this has been, not to say that this hasn't, but this is definitely more of a sit with it kind of one. So yeah, that's been a really cool combination. So glad I found those and met a very nice seller actually through these. So I bought a couple of her decks off of her for secondhand, good secondhand prices, and yeah, we had a nice little chat. So that's one of the positives of buying secondhand as well. You never know who you might meet in this old tarot realm. But oh my goodness, where is it? Here we go. This is the deck I've been pairing with this at the moment, and that is the Monsoon Tarot. I backed it on Kickstarter. It arrived fairly recently in November. It reminded me of a Studio Ghibli kind of vibe in certain cards, which is what made me buy it, to be honest, particularly the Hanged Man, if I can find it. Where are you? Oh, Hanged Man. Yeah, here he is. I bought it specifically for this card because it just reminds me of Lupita Castle in the Sky. Laputa, or Lapita, what am I saying? But I've been using these decks together because I just think that very wintry, especially as we're heading more into December. I was looking at this as more as a winter deck. I'm really glad I got it. Me and Sandy from Exploring Tarot were talking about it, like the kind of eeriness a little bit of like the no face people, which I wasn't expecting so many no face figures in this, which can be a bit off-putting to me sometimes. But I do think it matches the sort of dreamlike energy of this deck. This is very dreamlike. I want to know why it's called the Monsoon. I really don't understand that reference, to be fair. And I would have really appreciated a book that spoke to why these depictions were painted for each card, because it's just literally a keyword book. But even the keywords are kind of interesting, to be honest, because they're a little bit of deviations. But usually if there's a deck that deviates or RWS, I want to understand the artist's choices. And this I'm gonna have to do it for myself with this deck, but I already feel it speaks to me quite strongly, like with very specific kind of takes on certain cards, I have to say, which is pretty cool. But yeah, these two together, usually with this in the middle, is my forest, my grounding force between these two dreamy cards. This is what I've been getting, some quite very clear, I'd say quite clear messages, to be honest. This is a very good anchor deck, I have to say. But yeah, very poignant. I really am enjoying it. Like I said, it's a relatively new deck into my collection, but it does have this very surreal, dreamlike kind of contemplative nature to it. Yeah, it can be quite direct as well, if that makes sense. For most part, I like a lot of the cards. Some I'm a little bit like, huh? Or that's not really too much of me, but I am appreciating it. And it's such interesting cardstock as well. It's like plasticky linen, I can't. And it's got this holographic, I don't know if you can see, I went for the edition that's got like holographic, which is so pretty. Sparkle, very Christmassy, right? But yeah, the Monsoon Tarot and Wisdom of the Forest Oracle, a very cool combination, especially literally cool for these cold days, especially heading into this winter now. Yeah, I've been enjoying that as a combo so far. Another deck that had been on my wish list for a long time, but I couldn't bring myself to buy from the creator, unfortunately, because again the pricing was just like the postage and stuff was too much, is the Children of Litha Tarot. Cara, I finally did it. Again, from that lovely seller who was selling off like quite a lot of her collection. She was moving on. I love this deck. I knew I was going to love it anyway. It's difficult to shuffle because it's rose petal, but it's still so luxe, and I love that. The colours, the way that this is made, you know, that these sort of oval sort of scenes, you know, these fantasy characters, this beautiful colour palette, this like black background is so striking, and also the way it deviates, you know, this book is actually really, really good as well. So I've been using this through like specifically the start of November, quite an autumnal kind of vibe, because it's quite fiery. Cara as well, I was asking for decks that speak to Aries energy and fire energy, and Cara mentioned this, Cara from Moonlight Arcana. And I was like, wow, I didn't actually notice that, but it has got quite fiery energy. Okay, now everything needs to be turned around. It's just so, if you're into fantasy, just illustration in general, like this has got to be in your collection. It's beautiful. It's so striking. I mean, that one might not be everyone's favorite. There's a lot of animal energy in this as well, as you'll see. So it's really cool. I also picked up the Nameless One Oracle and Tarot by this creator secondhand as well. I don't have that to hand, but I think that was in October. But yeah, really, really cool, this fantasy kind of element. And it's been really cool to work with through the autumn specifically. And hopefully when I start doing more work with my Aries kind of sign, this will come in handy too. It's definitely quite a good deck for getting you inspired. Like, it's quite a creative deck if you're asking questions for that, like the creative kind of endeavours and things. I do like it for that. So that's the Children of Litha. Staying on that sort of fantasy realm, I also picked up this secondhand, which is the Whitefly Tarot that had been on my wish list for quite a while actually. Came up, I thought, oh, I'll try and bid, let's see, and I won. So yeah, it seems brand new as well, very well made. Again, back into that fantasy element, very striking illustrations, right? Very striking characters in this. The Magician, look at him. Oh, very Somnia Tarot, this one. It's beautiful. It's like you're stepping into this fantasy realm, and it's This is relatively new. This has come in quite late in November, so not too long ago. Maybe like last week. So I haven't really worked with it yet. I've literally just been looking through it. Look at that sort of Poseidon character with the chariot. But I just really like it. It's almost like video game-esque illustration, which I really do appreciate. And some interesting takes on some of the cards for sure. Very interesting takes. Look at that Hanged Man, for example. Very different, right? It's almost like you want to know the background of all these characters. I'm not sure if the book like completely speaks to them, but it's not bad. Like, it definitely poses some questions and like asks you to kind of reflect on certain themes and stuff. But yeah, look at that. You can look at a bit of some of the minors. The minors change into these sort of scenes so that we don't have as much white space, but beautiful nonetheless. And those are the backs, by the way. So yeah, that is the White Fly Tarot. Fairly sure you can buy that on Etsy still, or Roy the Coops if you're in Europe and want to get hold of that for a cheaper price. I think that shop gets it in stock at times. But yeah, wonderful tarot that is. I look forward to to playing around with that in the near future. Okay, what else do we have? For the autumnal vibes, I picked up the Tarot Chinois, the Chinese tarot, just because I do love me a little bit of Asian influence and storytelling, and this deck definitely speaks to those sort of fables and stuff, particularly from China. And I just liked how it was drawn. I thought the imagery was very beautiful. I'm not sure this is out of print deck. It could potentially be. Can you see the images? Oh my goodness. Should I zoom in a little? Very autumnal, very storytelling, and I love a storytelling deck. I love fables from around the world, and I need to really get more familiar with this. As you can see, it's still in order. It's in very good condition. I bought it second hand, but it's practically new. At the back's pretty cool. See all of this sort of storytelling energy, these beautiful autumnal colours. Oh, I love that. That's on the box, that one. It's not being too hard, even though it's in French. And the wonderful seller just gave me a book like with some English interpretations. I don't know if there's an English version of this tarot potentially, but yeah, it's been really nice to add that to my kind of other cultures slash what's the word? Other language kind of texts. So that is Tarot Chinois. Chinois, I don't know how to say it. I'm pretending I'm French with that, and it's just sounding so pretentious. Yeah, that was, I think this was in October buy, this one. Again, second hand. eBay loved me this these last 2 months, and you're like, Ree, is there more? Yes, there is. I went very, very overboard, but this one's pretty cool. Look at that bag for one, that cosmic cat energy. I'm not a big cat person, I have to be honest. Not to say that I dislike cats, but if you was to ask me, I'd probably say I'm more of a dog person. But it's not that it's not that I dislike cats, by the way. I do. I think cats are beautiful. They're just very independent, majority of them, you know. But the reason I specifically bought this one, and it being Black Cat Tarot, is to speak to my grandmother. My grandmother was an archetypal crazy cat lady. No, I say no. She had loads of cats. She was the kind of person that was like, oh, the cats had a litter of kittens. Oh, they keep them all, you know what I mean? To be fair, her whole house was a menagerie. Even my dad said when he was growing up, they had all sorts of animals: dogs, rabbits, cats, iguanas, snakes. Yeah, we're going into like exotic pets as well and things of that nature. And she loved and looked after all of them, you know. And I realised I didn't have no decks that spoke to that grandmother. She's passed on now. Energy in particular. And this one came up and I saw it on eBay and I was like, wow, that's quite kooky like her. It's quite out there, and it's a black cat because for me, black cats have always symbolised good luck. I don't know if a lot of people's cultures is the opposite, but for me, it was always that, and I've always had a love specifically, like, I've always had like an affection for black cats in particular. when I see them. So those and tabby cats, to be fair. So yeah, I just saw this and it was just so different. It's quite kooky and it reminded me of her, and I thought it would be nice to have one to speak to her energy, because I have decks to speak to my maternal side in terms of like grandmothers on that side, but not my paternal side, and we have some similarities, me and that grandmother of mine, in terms of things that, you know, things I've inherited and stuff from her, so creatively and stuff. So yeah, I just thought this is a really kooky and cool cat deck, and that's what made me pick it up. It's like this collagey, you know, all these different types of drawn cats over there. They all look different. Some are more realistic, some are very cartoon-like. Yeah, just definitely one I have to kind of sit with. It's a bit of fun to kind of work out some of the sort of depictions and stuff, but it was really cool. It's a nice indie production. So yeah, I'm not sure if it's still, you might still be able to get this on Etsy actually, if I'll try and see if I can find a link, but yeah, it's simply called the Black Cat Tarot. You get this nice kind of book that sort of talks you through it, and yeah, I bought that kooky, that pretty cosmic cat bag to go with it, and so it's just nice. It's nice to have a deck that connects me to that grandmother of mine. Hopefully I'll see whether her voice comes through with it. That would be interesting, but I haven't really worked with it too much, if I'm being honest. Oh dear, what's happened there? A little cat charm. That's what I love about this bag. I think they're called wind turned bags. Like when they send you their bag, they send you a little charm that sort of has something to do with it. And you can see it's the little cat. It's so cute. So yeah, that was a nice find in October as well for those spooky months. Next up, again back to that sort of sentimental kind of vibe, and saying about doing that inner child work to a degree. I found this secondhand, which is a Harry Potter deck. This is the Marauders Map edition. I think this is the first edition of this deck, but I think it's been released recently again, and I think it's simply called like the Wizard's Tarot or something. So if you're a Harry Potter fan, this is like a collage deck of the movies in particular. As you can see, it's still in order. I need to get a Harry Potter bag for this. I was just, you know, coming up to this time of year, I kind of want to do a marathon of these movies again. I've kind of said, like, for the Christmas period, take me back to sort of childhood and things like that. And I haven't ever read the books, believe it or not, like, travesty. And so that's something I kind of want to do. But I've not read them all properly. I think I started to read one, I think, at one point. But yeah, it's really well done. I actually like the pics. I really do justice for Dobby. Look at him, so cute. I like the black and white collage. Again, I like the sentimentality, the nostalgia of it. A little bit of temperance for Ron. Interesting pic. Devil, obviously, is Voldemort himself. Tower, Sirius Black, interesting. Yeah, really interesting pics. If you're a Harry Potter fan, obviously, you know, might be up your alley. Like I said, I'm sure you can get another edition of this. But yeah, that's the Marauders Map. Again, me feeling very sentimental in recent times and spending based on that. Again, to that childhood was the John Bower Tarot, which I modded, as I said earlier this year. I modded earlier in October. My lovely storytelling oracle, as it's become. Kind of lay them out in different kind of, well, usually in a free card spread, and see what the story tells me. Very good. Been very good for inner child work, actually. Been using this deck quite a lot, just to get that intuition kind of honed in, as it were. Really beautiful images from John himself, like wonderful fairy tale kind of illustrator, but really not shying away from that sort of darker aspect of fairy tales, which I like. And yeah, modding it was amazing. It's literally opened it up to so much more kind of use, because I found the tarot connection is a bit jarring with the original of this, I have to say. So guys, if you're struggling with it, mod it. That's what I say. What else? In terms of inner child work, I bought this one specifically, and secondhand again. Guys, eBay loved me. What I've really loved about this, I showed this in my recent video about using the tarot for inner child work, so if you want to check that out, just go back one video. Very good for like being an anchor card for what you want to do work on, like pulling one of these, looking at how it kind of relates to us in our lives right now, potentially to our inner child or things that happened in childhood, and drawing other cards around it. So I could do the John Bower, I can get a few other tarots and use with this. I've been using my Rider-Waite, is it the Groovy one? I can't remember. I'll have to put it somewhere. I've been using with this because I think the colourful combination is really cool. And I'll show you another tarot as well. My Little Prince tarot I've been using. So literally all the tarots I spoke about in that last video. But yeah, I've been using them with this, and it's been really, really cool, man. Like honestly, some quite profound messages and kind of reflections made by using this deck, and journaling. That's what I kind of tend to do. So yeah, if you're looking for an inner child oracle, check this out. I'm fairly sure it's sold on Etsy still. I'm not sure what the posted prices and things might be. And another kind of in that realm was the Everybody's Tarot, which I picked up secondhand again, I think from Seconds or something, that the boutique was selling on their eBay. And this one's like my Mr. Men deck, I say. Very cool, very like quirky, you know, very childlike, and just quite fun, but definitely still has its merit in getting us in touch with that inner child, working again alongside that oracle I just showed. Very interesting cards. They're like plastic, which is kind of cool. It'd be good for children, like as a first deck potentially, because they couldn't ruin it. They could probably spill juice on it, everything. You could just wipe it off. This one always makes me laugh, that stubbornness of the Four of Cups. I'm not eating that. So yeah, this has been a really cool little deck as well. I've enjoyed that. It makes me smile too, just to see those little monsters and those little creatures, as it were. So as you can see, guys, there was a lot of decks that I got this year. I mean, that I got these last 2 months. I really... Dang, I went out there with it, didn't I? I think that's all. Oh, gosh. That's enough. If you can read, that's more than enough. I think I'll just finish up in terms of deck talk on some combinations that I'd really been loving in the last month. And that would be, the last 2 months, should I say, my bad. I've already shown you one, which has been more the tail end of November, which was the Wisdom of the Forest and the Monsoon Tarot, which is more of a winter combo pick. Some combos I've been loving. I've cracked out my Blood Moon Tarot again, alongside the Illuminated Earth. I've been loving these together through October and November specifically. Bit more like into the night time, sort of like autumn kind of vibes. I've just been finding these combinations, this one and another one, pretty cool. So been using the Illuminated Earth as the middle card, and then splitting off the Blood Moon, so having 2 tarot cards like this. Look at that, guys, they're made for each other, right? Really has some really poignant reads. These I was using for my weekly reads. Throughout October and November, really, I get quite attached to decks once they're really working for the energy of the season for me. So I really do need to kind of, or do I need to? I should just work with how things work, right? For me, I don't necessarily need to keep rotating decks, but it'd be nice to get use out of some others. So yeah, this was a really beautiful combination that I was enjoying. This is a very good deck for kind of shadow work as well, if you're kind of embarking on that. I love it, the Blood Moon. and the other combination would be the Illuminated Earth. And I found another deck that worked very well with this. Again, I think I spoke to it before, might have spoke to it on my Instagram actually. The Terra Volatile, having this sort of alchemy involved with the sort of elements, the elemental vibe of the Illuminated Earth is a really cool combination. I really appreciated that, and I feel like they spoke to one another very, very well. As I've said before, I've found this deck, the Illuminated Earth, a bit difficult to work with at times, because it wasn't as easy for me to read as I anticipated it would be. But when using it with the right tarot, the message is like so poignant. It really draws out what you need to hear. So these were like probably my favorite sort of autumn combos for sure. I was definitely using the two forest decks quite a lot as well, and my Children of Litha. They were my main decks and combos, I would say, for the last 2 months, and mainly predominantly the autumn season in general, to be fair. So yeah, that was that. Yeah, so guys, that's everything. I think, blimey, we got through a lot of decks there, didn't we? Which comes to my reflections of the months of October and November. I've definitely, in terms of decks in my practice, I think I've come to realise I want to work on my consumption, my consumerism in general, but especially around decks. I came to the conclusion I've definitely gone overboard, and this is just me speaking for me. You know, I was getting to that point of deck overwhelm. Now when I'm looking, I'm like, I'm not getting the chance to spend enough time with certain decks that I really do love, because I keep bringing in new ones. I'm definitely kind of leaning more into that buying when I'm kind of triggered, or I'm feeling low or bored or things of that nature, where I've been in this hibernation mode. So I definitely came to this realization. So I feel like I am going to be moving into more of a depth year next year. I want to say specifically, like, and you know, that's not to tell anyone to do the same. This is just for me and what I've kind of understood about myself in recent months. I think it'll be good to give me the chance to really get to know certain decks of mine, to clear out some of mine that don't no longer kind of resonate and could go on to better homes. Definitely just look to putting that money towards certain other aspects that would be really good for me, in terms of like stuff to do with my health and traveling and then things of that nature. And obviously we've got this sort of cost of living crisis hitting a lot of us right now, and especially into the new year. So it's just about being more mindful and more discerning about my purchases, which is what I've kind of realised I'm going to be moving into specifically, you know, towards the new year. I think there's like one deck I want to try and trade for, which is my beloved Majestic Earth. I want to try and trade for that at the end of this year, and potentially buy the Tarot, the Shimmering Veil. And I think that will be me, you know, hopefully sorted, because I have a lot of Kickstarters on the way as well. Like, that's a whole other ball game. I really need to stop coming. I need to get off of Kickstarter, I think, because I am very impulsive, you know, a lot of Aries in my chart. Fairly sure I'm on, you know, someone that has ADHD as well. So there's a lot of like, oh, let's just do this now, and yeah. So I need to just stop for my own kind of well-being, I think, and it would be good. I think it will be a good kind of test in discipline, and like I said, getting to know my decks and really work more on the practice side of things, and hopefully that will reflect in my channel, because I've been feeling like a little bit lost of what to do with my channel. I'm quite inconsistent. My channel's not really growing in the way that maybe I would like, but that's again probably down to consistency. And I sort of thought, well, what do I want to do? Like, I think I kind of want to speak about the work I'm doing myself, and in the hope that it will help others, and the way that sort of kind of marries with my practice and things like that, and obviously still showcase decks and all of that, but I just want to step into something a bit different, I guess. That's what I'm hoping to do anyway. So yeah, other reflections, I need to kind of still get out and get connected with the world. I can't hibernate forever. As someone who has had agoraphobic tendencies at points in their life, quite profound ones, it's important for me to get out. So I'm kind of glad that I stepped back into that in November particularly. And it's just nice now that Christmas vibes are coming, and you know, you feel it in the air, you know, when you're out and about and stuff. It's quite nice to experience that and have these nice little things, like I've got a few shows booked for December to go and see, and so that should be fun. So all in all, it was an interesting couple of months, October and November. I've kind of done some reflections, feeling quite good about where I'm aiming to go for the new year, like with this channel hopefully, although I'm definitely I'm not sure what I can commit in terms of how many videos I'll be putting out, as I have embarked on, like I said, quite a lot of healing work for my physical kind of condition recently, and it takes a lot of energy. But I do enjoy being here, and I do enjoy interacting with you guys, but I may have to like cut down certain things. I think it's a bit much when I have the Instagram and this. Sometimes it gets a bit overwhelming, but we'll see how we go with that. But yeah, I've rambled enough, I think. So thank you for being here. Thank you for watching this show and tell of sorts. I hope you've enjoyed your October and November. And yeah, just let me know how you guys have been, how you're finding this season. If there's any decks here that you have and you've enjoyed, yeah, let me know. Or if there's some that you've never seen before and you like, that would be cool too. So yeah guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.